Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Goreski, and I'll be your host for today. If you tuned in yesterday, you heard me say a lot that this is one crazy week, because it is one crazy week. Somehow we've ended up with probably between 25 to 30 live events this week. We have a whole bunch of projects and festivals and celebrations going on. So it's World Ocean Week. So we have a ton of connections with scientists, explorers, filmmakers, taking us into our underwater world. We also have Canadian Environment Week, so a festival celebrating all kinds of parts of our environment here in Canada, ranging from the air to the forest, to the freshwater, the oceans, the polar regions. It's a busy week. And then ECOP, Early Career Ocean Professionals. We're hosting a bunch of the ECOP crew, some Canadian, just starting their careers and sharing some of the exciting things they're doing in our blue planet. So as an example, you could go to exploringbytheseat.com. You could use /Ocean Week, and you can find a ton of live events. We're doing these in partnership with the Explorers Club in New York. I will be flying to New York first thing tomorrow morning. And for a few days, I will be doing live events from the club. We'll have a bunch of the speakers joining me in New York, and we'll get to hang out with them and hear some of their stories and catch some of their adventures. All right, speaking of the Explorers Club, we have an Explorers Club member hanging out with us today in the form of Andi Cross, and she is with the Edges of Earth expedition. So over 24 months, along with her team, they're taking their love of scuba and freediving on an expedition to the most exotic and remote edges of our Earth. And they're not kidding around. They've already been places like Western Australia, Peru, Fiji, Maldives, Japan, and that's just a few locations. We have Andi joining us in Baja California right now, fresh off a liveaboard. And their goal here is to meet incredible people who have dedicated their lives to our planet and share those stories. So let's get Andi in here live with us right now. Hey, Andi, how are you?
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's great to have you with us. We have a great group of classrooms. We've got camera classrooms. We've got classrooms tuning in on YouTube, which reminds me, if you're on YouTube, use the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and that's where you're going to put your questions. Andi, it's been a while since we've hung out. You've been to so many places. Let's dive into it. Let's catch up on Edges of Earth expedition.
For sure. Yes. So before I give an update on where we've been and what we've done, I'll just give a little summary of what our expedition is all about for those who have not met me before. And for those who have, this is a little refresher. We are on this expedition to consciously explore. And what that means to us is we go to amazing locations around the world and leave it better than how we found it. So we always have heard the rule of thumb, leave no trace, or leave a place as you found it. But for us, it's about leaving a place better than we found it. And that's what we mean by conscious exploration. So each of the locations and each of the places that we're going, we're thinking about how can we use our skills to support people on the front lines of conservation in their everyday work and help to spread more stories of positive progress and impact. So, as Joe mentioned, over 2 years, we're documenting what life is like on the edges of Earth. And for us, the edges of Earth doesn't necessarily mean the most remote places in the world. Yes, we have gone to some really incredible remote destinations where we've been able to learn what's happening above and below the water. But for us, we're also looking at places where there really just is an amazing science, conservation, or discovery story that's happening in a really unexpected way. And you can see right here in this picture, this is Adam, who is our head of logistics, equipment, and safety, as well as one of our photographers documenting the 4 million 4 million sardines in the Philippines, where we were learning about what it takes to preserve and protect such incredible natural wonders like this. So for us, we're really looking for people and places where we can learn what's happening on the front line, how are we restoring and protecting our blue planet, and all of the positive progress that's happening around the world. So our mission is to share these stories found on the edges of Earth to inspire people like you to get out and explore. Our whole mission is to open everyone's eyes to what's out there, possibilities for your career, for your life choices, all of these different opportunities that you may not know about, where you can actually get involved and participate, whether that means becoming a scuba diver or a free diver, just to get out and explore the underwater world a little bit closer, or actually building careers in science, research, discovery, or even building careers in adjacent fields like marketing or project management or graphic design, where you can apply those skills to our blue planet. That's the goal of all the work that we're doing. So we are traveling to 7 continents, 150 locations, 40 countries, all over the course of a little over 2 years. When we first started, this was meant to be 1 year. It expanded to 2 years, and now it's looking like 2.5 years, which is crazy that it just keeps going. But the benefit is everywhere we go, we're learning about these amazing, amazing stories of people who are just dedicating their lives in really special ways to restoring and protecting our blue planet. There's so many people out there who are upending their careers or finding ways to bridge gaps with their careers to focus on our ocean in really special and unique ways. And the more that we get stuck into this expedition and we are traveling in this capacity, we're just meeting so many people whose stories really deserve to be shared. So this World Oceans Day marks 1 year in the field for us. We have been out on the road. We have been living out of our dive bags. We've been spending just as much time above and below water. And it has been 1 year since our last presentation like this with the Explorers Club. So it's really exciting to see all of the different locations that we've been able to go to and where we're going to in the next year plus. So our completed locations since June 2023, South Australia was one of our first stops, and then we worked our way through the Pacific, which included Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Fiji, the Solomon Islands. Then we made our way into the Philippines, Hong Kong, Japan, and Cambodia, and took little pit stops in the Maldives and Sri Lanka. From there, we went to India, Thailand, and then made our way back to the USA, where I'm from, and we did a stop in Florida. We spent a bit of time in Colombia and Peru, and then made our way back to Hawaii and California in the USA. And then we just completed a stretch where we drove the entire Central America. So that included Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and then we made our way up into Mexico, all the way up to the Yucatan. And today I'm here in Baja, California. We flew from the Yucatan over to Baja, and I just got off of a 10-day liveaboard that took us 30 hours off of the coast of Baja to Socorro Islands, which was an absolutely incredible experience to really get to see a marine protected area up close and personal that's really thriving. So this is what the last year has looked like. And then moving into the rest of this year and into 2025, this is just a tiny snapshot of where we're going, which includes Alaska, Canada, Iceland, Portugal, Scotland, in the UK, Norway, and then back over to the Eastern Hemisphere where we have a second home base in Perth, Western Australia. And then all of 2025 will be tackling some of the bigger locations where there's some really special stories across Antarctica, the Pacific Islands, Indonesia, and Australia, New Zealand, and beyond. So this is just a little snapshot of what's upcoming and some of the places that we're going, but it is not all inclusive. So this is the team. There's myself. I'm on the writing side. My job on the team is to connect with our partners on the ground, figure out what media publication their story is best suited for. Currently, we are contributors across 10 different media publications, including business journals, travel journals, science and discovery journals, and quite a few dive publications as well. And so once we meet our partners and we understand what their story is and we understand their life's work and their great impact, we figure out where to place their story across that contributor network that we have. Then on the left of me is Adam. He is our head of equipment, logistics, and safety, as well as one of our photographers. So he spends a lot of time focusing on underwater shots. He is a free diver and quite proficient when it comes to capturing incredible scenes beneath the waves. And then to the right of me is Marla Tomarug, and she's our creative director, graphic designer, and lead content creator. She's focused very much on building the beautiful aesthetic around these awesome stories that we're uncovering on the edges of Earth. Not pictured here is our amazing team who sits between Perth, New York, and Los Angeles, which includes a public relations team, editors, social media managers. So we have a really big support team supporting us on the ground while the three of us are in the field. We're very, very honored to be carrying an Explorers Club flag over the last couple of months. and into 2024, 2025. And this is a picture of us when we received our flag, which we got in Hawaii when we were documenting quite a few deep sea scientists in coral conservation. So what's really driving all of this for us? Why have we decided we want to consciously explore? These photos that you see on the left are quite graphic. They're from a fish market where we were experiencing some really heavy, heavy scenes of sharks and mantas being killed for food. Our news feeds are absolutely filled with doom and gloom, negative stories about our planet, photos that are very graphic like this. We're talking about a planet in decline a lot. For us, we decided we wanted to take a different approach, even though we know social media algorithms favor and serve negative content. We decided we wanted to use positive content and start circulating more of it through our work and through all of those media channels that we have access to that I was mentioning before. So over the last decade, we've met some really inspiring people who have dedicated their lives to solving our ocean crisis, but their stories have gone completely untold. You wouldn't know their names, you wouldn't know their work. So for us, we thought it's time to change that. More than ever, we believe that we need to talk just as much about the solutions as we do about the problems. So it's good to know what's happening to our natural world. It's important to understand the issues that we're facing, but it's even more important for us as the next generation of ocean stewards to really understand what we can do about it, what other people are doing about it, and how we can get involved. So we have 4 key areas in our storytelling when we publish with our contributors. We talk about environmental stories where we highlight positive progress when it comes to restoring and protecting the ocean. We talk about adventure and exploration stories where we share insights and personal stories from our time on a multi-year expedition to perhaps inspire you to go on your own expedition and charter your own path to exploring more with our natural world. We talk about water sports quite a bit. So we feature pro athletes that we meet along the way, from those who ride waves to those who go to the deepest depths to share what their connection is with the ocean. So that can include surfers, that can include scuba divers, free divers, people who have really made the ocean their second home. And then we share travel stories. We discuss what it's like to live fully remote, tips on where to go and what to do, and how to explore consciously. Travel is a really big contributor to our climate crisis. However, it's not going anywhere. We as people are very, very curious and eager to explore our natural world. So how can we do that in a way that's really beneficial and not hurting the planet? The local legends that we work with are all people who want their stories heard. So what we do when we're planning the expedition locations is figure out who are on the front line of conservation science discovery that really would like to tell their story and have not had a chance to. And then we work with them very closely to help amplify their message in the right way. So I want to give you a few examples of where we've been. I'm going to fly through these pretty quickly, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. One of my favorite in-field story examples is when we visited Andaman Discoveries, which is a nonprofit organization and a for-profit organization as well, to learn about the Moken sea nomads in Thailand. This is a dying nomadic sea culture where this incredible group of sea nomads were forced to be relocated to land, and their culture of living out on the open ocean that's been around for thousands of years is no longer something that they can participate in. Andaman Discoveries, the nonprofit, is working incredibly closely with this community to figure out the next chapter of how they can sustain their culture and livelihood amidst their changing world when they've moved from sea nomadic lifestyle to a land-based lifestyle. So what we did here was we had a chance to meet the sea nomads, learn their traditional ways, and tell their story through our channels, all in partnership with them. Another example is when we went to Sri Lanka, where we went to a fishing village in the northwest called Manor. We were shedding light on the plight of traditional fishermen. These are some traditional fishermen who have spent years and years and years living off of the sea. And yet, because of illegal bottom trawling, where huge nets come and sweep up all of the life on the sea floor, these fishermen are no longer able to feed their families or support themselves in a practice that they've been following for a very long time. So we met with them to learn about their lifestyle, learn about the situation that they're currently in, and meet the team called Blanca Environmental Fund, who is supporting them on the ground to figure out solutions to their problems. Another example of our in-field experiences is when we went to Vanuatu, which is an island in the Pacific, where we met a woman named Mari Wright and her family. She was sitting on an uncharted little bay, that's what she calls it, and we were helping her put it on the global dive map to help build up coastal tourism in her region where there is not a lot today. She had the insight to protect her little bay, which had beautiful coral that you can see on the bottom right. She had never dove her little bay. She had never seen it herself. And so we dove, took great photography for her, and opened her eyes to what sits right there on her front yard in this little bay, and then helped her with the Vanuatu Tourism Office put this site on the map for people to come and visit, but to also understand what it will take to explore her little bay consciously. Coastal tourism is incredibly important to local communities as it's a means to generate income. But for Marie and her family, she wanted to make sure that we helped her put conscious exploration of her little bay on the map so that her reef could remain intact for generations to come. Another example is when we went to Negros Oriental in the Philippines. We met a group of night watchmen called the Bantay Dagat. These individuals are volunteers who monitor their beaches at night to make sure there's no illegal fishing in their marine protected areas, which are sanctioned areas that do not allow fishing in order to protect the environment. These individuals that you see in these pictures are all volunteers. So they work their full-time job during the day. They sleep 2 hours to 3 hours at night, and then they come out and patrol the beaches all night long. It's a very, very incredible dedication to their home, to their ocean, and the marine protected area. Another example is when we went to Japan and we met the original freedivers. These women, as you can see on the left-hand side, are in their 80s and 90s, and they have been freediving for shellfish, seaweed, and other critters in the sea to provide for their family. The picture that you see on the right is us eating some of their delicacies that they caught fresh from the ocean, and these women have been using a single breath hold to dive anywhere from 5 to 30 meters to collect their bounty from the sea. And these women express to us all of their years of what it's been like as professional free divers, catching and supplying their family with this food, and what's next for their culture. Another example is when we met with the World Surf League, where we were highlighting next generation pro surfing and their commitment to the ocean. These pro surfers are surfing some of the biggest, most incredible waves all around the world in some of the most remote and exotic locations. But what are they doing to protect these locations as they travel to it? So we had a really nice partnership with World Surf League to talk to some of the next generation of those surfers and understand what their commitment to conservation is on an everyday basis. And another example is recently when we went to Chetumal, Mexico. We met the scientific and fishermen teams that discovered the world's deepest blue hole that goes to 450 meters, if not more. We were some of the first people to dive this location to help document what's in this gigantic blue hole in Mexico and start understanding how this contributes to furthering our knowledge of our natural world. So I'll pause there. I'll stop for now, and I'm happy to answer any questions or dig in deeper as to what we've seen over the last year and what's to come.
Awesome, Andi. Thanks so much. I know that's not easy to pack so many experiences into a short period of time, but you really shared some awesome stories with us. So thank you so much for that today.
No problem.
All right, let's play some Kahoot. I am going to share my screen. Should come up here shortly. Oh, I have to push one more button on the Kahoot for it to start. There we go. All right, let's get that screen share. There we go. Okay, we need to visit kahoot.it. Kahoot.it. 7177. If you have something at your seat, maybe a Chromebook, maybe a tablet, you can join there. If not, your teacher could pop this up at the front of the room. You could shout your answers out to him or her. You don't actually even need to join with technology. You can just take the quiz yourself and see how you do in the end. I've got 5 questions today, some true and false, some multiple choice. When those wrap up, we're going to switch to Q&A. So get them ready in your classroom. If you are on YouTube, send them in via the private chat, and we will work them in here. So while we're waiting, I've got a question from Hubbard Elementary, Andi, and I know this is going to be a really hard question, but we'll ask it anyways. We'll put you on the spot. Which location or story has been your favorite so far?
Yes, this is the most asked question, and I don't have a good answer. For scuba diving, my favorite location is the Philippines. It was absolutely amazing to see what sits beneath the waves there. It's just absolutely amazing. We were there for almost five weeks, and we went all around from Anilao to Negros Oriental to Palawan to Malapascua to Mobile to Cebu to Siargao, and everywhere we went was just such incredible diving, even amidst some of the really big challenges that they're having from a conservation and sustainability standpoint. But from a story perspective, my favorite one has to be the Moken, the first slide that I showed you from Thailand with the sea nomads. As far as most nostalgic, coming back home to the USA, where I'm from, I had not been in a while because I lived permanently in Australia. So California, Hawaii, and Florida were quite near and dear to my heart. And the most wild and terrifying diving of them all actually was just the liveaboard I did out to Socorro, where we were diving in open ocean looking for schooling hammerheads, giant tuna, yellowfin tuna, in absolutely crazy conditions to see it. So I hope that answers your question. Every location is so amazing for its own reason, but those are a few standout.
All right. Oh my gosh, Socorro, I'm so jealous. I bet it was absolutely incredible. I saw some hammerheads in the Galapagos a few weeks ago, but those islands where you are pretty darn special. That's on my dive bucket list for sure. Cool. All right. Well, I think things have slowed down, so let's get this Kahoot started, and then we'll just open up the question floodgate. So here we go. We're going to count in with 3 seconds, and then we're off to the races. Remember, the quicker you put the right answer in, the more points you're going to get. It really doesn't matter how fast you put the wrong answer in. So conscious exploration is all about leaving a place better after you visited. Is that true or is that false? Conscious exploration, it's about leaving a place better than it was before. Got a few more seconds to lock in your answers. All right, that's absolutely true. I think that's the way we should be exploring. Yeah, leaving a place better, not just taking from there. Of course, it's great just to take some pictures and stuff, but it is nice to have an impact too. Witty Gazelle, you are in first place. I think you got it in instantly. If you got 1,000 points, that's pretty impressive. Let's go to our next question. This is a multiple choice. Where is Andi joining us from today? Is it the Maldives, Baja California, Peru, or is she in the Philippines today? So where's Andi joining us from today? I think we're going to get this one pretty easily. It came up in the introduction. Andi talked about it. I think we got this one. All right, a few more seconds on that timer. All right, Baja California it is. Let's go back to our leaderboard. Ooh, the Red Hawks swooping in. Okay, next question. It's another multiple choice coming your way. How many countries will Andi and the team visit? Was it 10, 20, 30, or 40 countries by the time the journey ends? And who knows, maybe that number could grow. It sounds like things are a little flexible when good opportunities come along. So 10, 20, 30, or 40 countries by the time the expedition comes to a close. A couple more seconds. All right, there we go. So 40 countries by the time all is said and done. That's going to be one full passport. And the Flying Frog, we've got a lot of movement. No one's able to hold on to that lead. We've got a couple true and falses to take us out. Andi's main role in the expedition is equipment and safety. Is that true or is that false? Andi is getting all that gear ready, making sure everyone's safe and ready to go. Is that her main expedition role? 2 more seconds. All right. Oh, we had a little bit of a mixture there, but it is false. Andy's doing a lot of the writing. Of course, I'm sure you help with safety sometimes. You probably do your buddy checks before you guys jump into the water, but that is not your main role. Okay. One more to go. Flying Frog is holding on. True or false? Travel is a large contributor to the climate crisis. Is that true or is that false? What do you think? That plane flying through the sky there, is that contributing to the climate crisis? A couple more seconds. All right, that is true. But Andy, I think you made a really good point when you said it's not going anywhere. So we need to find those solutions and make it more sustainable. Because I think travel is really important for having perspectives about the world, our planet, the people in those places. So I think travel does play a really important role. So third place, we've got the Noble Llama. In second, we've got the Red Griffin. And rounding out that leaderboard, the Flying Frog held on for the last few questions. All right. Well, classrooms, thanks for playing along with us. Let's come back from that screen share, turn off that Kahoot music, and let's get into Q&A action. So put those questions into the chat. Let's get some live classrooms. We'll start off with Mr. Shattuck's grade 5-6 class. How are we doing today?
Has anybody on your crew had to get a tetanus shot on the spot from the rust?
No, we haven't, but we've definitely had injuries and issues, but not that one.
All right. He seems slightly disappointed that nobody's had a tetanus shot, but that's okay. Is there another question there in Mr. Shattuck's class?
If I can jump in with one, Joe, really quickly, I was wondering, Andy, if you might be able to tell us a little bit more about the nomadic people. How did they live on the oceans, and how has that changed for them?
Yes, absolutely. So the sea nomads in Thailand and Myanmar have been living off of the sea for centuries. And they were living on what they call kabangs, which are houseboats that they've made out of trees. These absolutely beautiful, beautiful home boats. And they have families that live on those houseboats. And they just sail up and down the Myanmar, Thailand coast, very, very carefully and cautiously living off of the sea. They would tell us stories about how when whales would come near their boat, they would all just sit in absolute silence and be as still as possible, because whales had the ability to knock over their boats. They would hunt through spearfishing, and they would hunt through free diving, similar to the Japanese ama women who dive 5 to 30 meters for their food. But what happened was there was a tsunami that hit Thailand, and the government decided that they wanted to sanction the sea nomads to land moving forward, and that they were no longer able to live in that nomadic way. So on Surin National Park, for example, in Thailand, they created a little area for them to live permanently. They lost all of their houseboats as they were living in a national park and no longer able to make their kabangs or their houseboats out of the trees in the national park. And then were allocated only a small portion of time to go out fishing in the national park. So they basically had their entire lifestyle taken away from them by the Thai government in exchange for saying that they could now become part of Thai society. But for the sea nomads, they don't understand possessions or money or government. That's not the way they work. They work in a communal family style where they share and they barter and they work together to live in harmony as a unit, not as individual families or people. So this is an incredibly different lifestyle, incredibly different way of living. And unfortunately for them, they've had to adapt to their modern reality, which is why the nonprofit Andaman Discovery has come in to help figure out how to bring community tourism into the equation so that they can have a new livelihood and a new way of earning money that meets the modern requirements that have been imposed on them.
All right. Mr. Shattuck, before I move to another classroom, I've got a question for you guys. I want to know how EQAO is going this week.
Well, we're getting through it. 3 days left to go, and I think we're all looking forward to the end.
All right, very cool. Glad you guys could make some time to hang out today. Okay, let's grab another camera classroom. Mrs. Max, fifth graders. If you want to unmute your mic, we'd love to grab a question or two. There they are.
Why did they kill the manatees and all the sharks and everything?
Sorry, what was that question?
Why did they kill the animals like the sharks and everything?
Oh, yes. In Sri Lanka, that picture, they were killing them for food. So those animals were being sent all around the world to other places as a means to feed people. But unfortunately, those animals are not necessarily the right ones to be killing for food. So that was what we considered not okay. When we saw that, we were really, really upset and disappointed. But it's different cultures, different ways of living. And for the Sri Lankans that we were encountering, they believed that this was the right thing to do to support their families.
All right, 5 6s. You got one more there for me? I think I saw somebody else in line.
Go ahead. Owen, do you have a question? Does anyone have a question?
No,
I
You swing back as well.
Okay.
All right, I'll swing back. Let me grab one from YouTube this time. Miss Colburn's crew is hanging out with us, and they want to know what about your experiences or educational background brought you to this journey.
Wow, thanks. That's such a great question and my favorite one. So I really appreciate you asking. I studied marketing and advertising in school, and I worked at big marketing agencies throughout my 15-year career. And I never in a million years thought I would be doing anything like this. But when I was sitting in my corporate office in Manhattan, where I spent most of my early day career, and I was seeing all of this doom and gloom unfolding across my news feeds or the news channels about our planet in decline, I thought, how can I apply my skills in marketing, in growth strategy, in brand building, in creative writing to this cause that I care so much about? I always loved the ocean, but I grew up in Philadelphia, so I wasn't very close to an ocean. I didn't learn to swim until I was much older. I didn't learn to scuba dive until I was in my 30s. So for me, this was a really big stretch to move my career from traditional corporate marketing into the world of exploration and discovery like this. But I felt like it was my obligation and duty in the name of conscious exploration to use the skills that I have to apply to something that really matters, like our blue planet.
All right, great question. 5 6s. Oh, sorry, I don't know if this is 5 6 for sure, but where are they from? Dalewood students. Okay, very cool. Let's get some more. We've got lots of grade 5 6 classes in today. Here's another one from Sudbury, Ontario. How are we doing, 5 6s? All right. Who's got a question for us?
Do you have another job besides scuba diving? Because it must cost a lot to go like around the world.
Yes, it does. And I do. So I love that question. My team and I run a consulting business. So we never quit our day jobs. I still work with large enterprises and help them with their marketing and growth strategy. I work with a venture capital firm called HL Ventures out of New York. I've worked with them for 8 years. And so I help scale-ups, startups, and enterprise businesses figure out how they can contribute a lot better to our natural world. So I found a way to blend what I've done throughout my career with ocean exploration and ocean impact, bring it all together. So we have our consulting business that funds our expedition and enables us to be out on the road.
All right, great question. Here comes another student.
I looked it up and what was I gonna? Have you ever encountered an ocean sunfish? Because I looked it up and it said that they're common around some of the places you've been to.
They are common, and I have not, but I really wish I had. They're so special, and I would love to one day.
Okay.
All right.
Do I put it down now?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go to another classroom. Hubbard Elementary is hanging out with us. Where is Hubbard Elementary? I lost my page. There we go. Hubbard Elementary, if you want to go ahead and unmute in New Brunswick. Very cool. On the East Coast.
Okay. Do you want to come ask us questions? Come on over.
Stop. When you were younger, did you think that this was going to be your job?
No, I did not think that this was going to be my job, but I was really hopeful that it would. But I never really had a lot of experience with the ocean, so it was more of a dream and a fantasy than a reality when I was younger.
All right, cool question. I got one more there.
Oh, I can't remember what it was. He's not. He left the classroom.
That's okay. I can swing back. We have a few more on YouTube, and I'll swing back to your crew.
Thank you.
Okay. Andy, question from YouTube. This is from Miss Ferentz, grade 7s. They want to know about the types of sharks you've seen, and then they want to know about any close calls while diving.
Wow. Okay. Sharks I've seen. As of this week, I have seen schooling hammerheads, silky sharks, silver tip, white tip, Galapagos, black tip, and that's just this week or last week, actually. And then in total, whale sharks, great white sharks, thresher sharks, lemon sharks, bull sharks, tiger sharks. Oh, the list goes on. Tar sharks, leopard sharks, zebra sharks. So many sharks. I haven't ever had a close encounter with an animal. We're trained to keep our distance. We're trained to know how to be in the water with certain animals. If we are not trained ourselves to understand how to be in the water with certain animals, we are always with an expert who knows how to handle certain situations. We take safety and sustainability of the animals really seriously. One of our really big partners who we work incredibly closely with is Scuba Schools International. They're a scuba diving training agency who has trained us in a certain way to be ready for this expedition. And then a lot of the dive professionals that we go down into the water with are trained through SSI as well. And they are experts at what they do, whether that's great white shark diving or tiger shark diving or bull shark diving. We're always with somebody who is a seasoned expert scientist diver that knows how to handle certain situations. However, where I have had close encounters is with the ocean itself. The ocean conditions can change just like that when you're down there. And as a diver, and as a professional diver, you need to be ready to handle those changes in the blink of an eye. So 1 minute I could be diving in some of the calmest, most relaxed conditions. And then all of a sudden I'm in incredibly strong current or a down current that's pulling me deeper and deeper and deeper. So understanding conditions of the ocean, understanding that the ocean will always change, understanding that the ocean is never on your time, you're always on the ocean's time, is really important. So you have to have a little bit of a fear and a respect for the ocean when you go in, knowing that it's a force of nature and is not going to wait for you, and understand how to handle yourself in all of these very, very difficult and interesting situations. So I've never had a close encounter with a shark or an animal or ever been afraid for my life, but I have definitely been cautious of ocean conditions as they change.
All right. Very cool. You're lucky. I once was brutally attacked by an octopus and it tried to steal my GoPro. It was my own fault. I got the GoPro a little too close and they're super curious. So it wanted to check that out. Toronto, more grade 7s. There are lots of different temperatures or terrains. So how do you adapt when you're in different parts of the ocean?
Yes, this is a very good question. So the way that we mapped out our expedition was to ensure that for long stretches of time, we were either in the tropics or the ice or the temperate waters so that we can make sure that all of our gear accommodates that ocean condition or topside conditions. So for most of 2023, we were in the tropics. For 2024, we've been in warm weather as well. Now we're moving into temperate and ice conditions for the rest of this year. So what we do is we go to one of our home bases, which is either New York, Philadelphia, LA, or Perth, Western Australia, and we do what we call a gear change. The gear change means that we drop off all of our tropics gear and we pick up all of our temperate gear, or vice versa. So we're constantly making little stops to our home bases to make sure that we pick up the right gear, because there's no way you're diving temperate waters in a 3mm wetsuit. So for us, it's this constant journey of making sure that our plans are mapped so perfectly so we can do those gear changes, we can do those gear drops, and make sure we have the right stuff. We are in partnership with Mares, which is a dive gear provider. They've been around for 75 years. They are one of the leaders in scuba diving and have been pioneering the space for a very long time. And they provide us with all of our gear for the tropics, tundra, and beyond.
All right. Great questions from a couple of grade 7 classes. I want to visit a couple of our classrooms who put in one, but they might have follow-up. So let's try Mrs. Max 5 6s and see if there's a follow-up there now. There we go.
Have you ever interacted with any dangerous animals other than sharks?
We have. We've interacted with quite a few dangerous animals, and most of those have actually been on land. So living in Western Australia for as long as I have, coming across snakes and spiders and very small critters that you wouldn't expect have been the most scary for us. But in the ocean, we spend so much time with experts, so we felt rather safe. But I will say the spiders and the snakes in Western Australia can very much get us good. The only other animal that I've interacted with that's kind of made me nervous is the box jellyfish, which I don't know if you know about that one, but it's a very, very small and deadly animal. And getting a little too close to a box jellyfish is quite nerve-wracking. But we do this thing called blackwater diving, and it's where you go out in the middle of the night in pitch black, there's no lights, and you drop down into thousands of meters of open ocean, and you suspend yourself at around 20 to 30 meters, and you watch the vertical migration where all of the larvae and all of the baby animals come from the deep, deep depths up to the surface. And that's where we've seen some really wild creatures that we didn't know what they were, but they resembled some of the crazy, dangerous ocean critters, but we can't be sure if we were encountering them or not because we've never seen them before. So blackwater diving has presented some interesting creatures that may or may not have been dangerous.
All right. Very cool. Hubbard Elementary, do you have a second follow-up on deck for us?
Yes. It's okay. The question was actually already answered.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Shattuck's crew, I think I see someone on deck. We can squeeze in a couple more questions.
What was the most favorite thing you ever saw on the, or what was your most favorite thing that you ever published on the internet?
My favorite thing that I've ever published on the internet. Well, let's see. I really like all the stories we publish, but my favorite story of them all really still is that Moken story. And you can read it on Oceanographic. Oceanographic is one of our partners that we work with quite a bit. We've been a contributor since 2023. Oceanographic is a beautiful online and print publication that enables you to really see the most beautiful things in the underwater world. And they helped us publish that story about the sea nomads. Another one of my favorite stories is when we went diving in South Australia and we experienced giant cuttlefish and their mating season. Giant cuttlefish are these really weird creatures that are all electric and glowing, and they kind of look like squid. And they have a mating season in South Australia where the cuttlefish come together and reproduce, so their legacy lives on. We saw 250,000 giant cuttlefish mating. And so we got the chance to document that. And you know, glow sticks, like fun neon electric glow sticks, that's what it looked like underwater. And it was really, really fun to publish stories on that.
Very, very cool. All right. 5 6s in Sudbury. Do you have one more for us before we wrap up for today? No pressure. Okay.
No, they changed their mind.
No, that's fine. I've got one more here on YouTube. Let me grab it here. This is from some grade 7s, and they would like to know. Okay. What is your favorite part about diving? What brings you into the ocean?
Wow. My favorite part about diving is it's your chance to really be as close as possible to the ocean and our blue planet, to these incredible animals. When you have these up close encounters with some of these amazing species, like a giant cuttlefish, it's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. Or you get to explore incredible caves or caverns or deep blue holes. You really get to see how amazing our natural world is. It's so impressive. And it's one of those moments where you can't talk to anybody except with sign language and underwater sign language that you learn through your dive training. You are in total and complete control of what's happening to your body. You need to be super switched on. You need to be very focused. You need to be very aware of your surroundings. You need to be so in the moment and so present. And it enables you to really focus on your breathing and relax and concentrate. And it's just a real nice moment of clarity, especially when you're getting the chance to see some incredible species. You understand what you're protecting, what's out there, what all the fight is for. So for me, it's a very special experience to bring me closer to our natural world, but realize what it is we're working so hard to protect.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with a shout out to our classrooms. Thank you so much for all of those great questions, for playing Kahoot with us, whether you're on YouTube or if you were live with us. I see a few classes running to the camera, so let's turn on some cameras. If you want to say a big goodbye and thank you to Andy. There we go. Andy, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your expedition so far. And we can't wait to keep following you along. We're going to have to host you a little more often over the coming school year.
Bye, everyone. Thank
All right.
you.
We're going to sign off for today. We hope to see you in more ocean events. Andy, good luck to you and your team out on the road. And
Thank you.
we look forward to the next connection.
Thank you. Thanks so much.